everybody from Denver International Airport. It is Sunday, and this can only mean one thing, that the rent is very much due. So for those of you who've been following my channel, or especially those of you who are new, hi, my name is Alexis. And although you see me doing all this crazy stuff on my channel the last few years, triathlon, marathon, my full-time job is actually as a flight attendant for one of the big 3 airlines in the United States. And I have been doing that for 10 years. So your girl is officially a senior mama. And I've got some things to say. A lot of the airlines seem to be hiring right now. And in today's video, I want to not just talk at you on the camera, but I want to take you with me. Come with me. We're going to go on a 4-day trip, and I'm going to share with you things that I wish I knew before becoming a flight attendant. Hopefully that can help somebody who's thinking about the job, who's in the application process right now. You can trust in me. I have seen some things, I know some things, and like I said, your girl is officially a senior mama. So first things first, I'm going to get into this airport and check in. We are doing, like I said, a 4-day trip, and today is day 1, and I have 3 legs today. And also, if you're looking for some sugarcoating in today's video, this is not the video for you. The gate. I'm just waiting to board. The aircraft just arrived, and we're waiting for them to deplane so that we can get on board. My first flight of the day is going to be from Denver to Albuquerque, and then we have a long sit, and I will see you then. I got plenty of time to talk to y'all when we get to Albuquerque. See ya! Just landed in Albuquerque, ABQ, one of the most interesting looking airports that I've ever seen. And we have to sit here for 3 hours before our next flight. And then we have another flight after that. So not my favorite to sit because we're not actually getting paid, but I'm gonna read my book. So I've got some yogurt here, just a little Greek yogurt with blueberries, pumpkin seeds, and some granola. So I'm gonna eat that. I don't like these long sits, but this is kind of one of the only chances that I'm gonna have today to like really just sit down and be alone and eat. We don't have normal lunch breaks scheduled. You just kind of have to grab food when you can. So that's what I'm about to do. I've got this on this sit, and read my book and mind my business, most importantly. That much time to really update you guys for the rest of the day because I have short sits in between these next 2 flights. But I did want to show you my dinner. This will be one of the meals that I'm eating. I am going to sauce this up so it'll look a little better, but I have some chicken and rice here, and that is what I'm going to be eating on the next flight. And then I've also got some clam chowder that I'm probably going to eat on the flight after that if I still feel hungry. The number one thing that I wish I knew before starting this job was the importance of taking care of my health and my wellness. Not them talking while I'm talking. Anywho, the number one thing that I wish I knew and that I wish more people knew was the importance of taking care of your health and wellness with this job. It is so important. It is very challenging to do, but it can be done. And I'm telling you this first because this is the number one thing that I really want y'all to get out of this video. I'm telling you, no matter how many times I wash my hands on the plane, it just feels different to come to the hotel or to go home and wash my hands in a real bathroom, in a real sink. I just feel like my hands just really actually get clean. But before I dive into my first point, you already know what time it is. If you're an OG, we gotta do the room tour. So I am finally here after a very, very long day. They can't schedule our day to be more than 13 hours. And this day was scheduled at 12 hours and 59 minutes. I have been up, let's see what time it is in Denver. It is 12:36 right now in Dallas, Fort Worth. We're in Dallas. And in Denver, it is 11:37 p.m. I have been up since 6:30 a.m. and I'm just getting to the hotel at 11:30 p.m. That is how long this day has been. Okay. Room tour. So this one's for my OGs. We got the closet right here. I'm starting to hang up my uniform. Nothing crazy. We got the bathrooms, kind of a cute door. Nothing crazy. I already, messed a couple things up. Shower, toilet, seems pretty clean, cleaner than most rooms. We have 2 beds, so I'm probably gonna take the blanket off of, which bed do I want to sleep in? Probably take the blanket off of this bed and put it on this bed. I like to double blanket up because I get cold. So I love when I have 2 beds in the room. Then here is the view. Kind of hard to see, but it'll be better in the morning to see. Now, in my last video, I believe I was in Dallas and y'all told me, Dallas Fort Worth, and I was informed by some of y'all that Dallas Fort Worth and Dallas are 2 totally different things. So let me come correct. I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, DF Dub. And now that we've done the room tour, I'm gonna get to the most important thing that I wish I knew before I started this job. But first, we have to answer the age-old question. We have a fridge, but is it cold? Yes, my friends, it is indeed cold. Won't he do it? This job can take a pretty big toll on your health. Not just your mental health. Oh no, that's not all. But your physical health too. It is probably even more real than maybe you think it is. I think most people know that traveling is uncomfortable. Most people have been on a plane at least one time to travel somewhere, but having traveling being your full-time job is a totally different story. And that's why we love rooms with a cold fridge. The fridge where we can stash all of our meal prepped food, which brings me to my first point, which is it's important to prioritize your health and your wellness with this job. I know that's like common sense in our life. Of course, we're supposed to prioritize our health, but a lot of us slack a little bit on that, and that's usually fine. It's not that big of a deal, but it's important to be a little bit more on it and to prioritize it a little bit more when you're working in a metal tube filled with germs day in and day out. Think about how you feel when you're traveling, when you take a long flight to another country. Think about how you feel when you get there. You feel a little bit drained. You don't quite feel 100%. Now imagine that being your life 25/8, okay? It can get ugly, I'm telling you. I mean, you're bound to get sick your first year just because of the new environment you're in. I remember my first year, I was getting sick like every other month. But when you're 2 years in, 3 years in, 10 years plus in, and you see people who are they're chronically ill. They always have a cold. It never seems to go away. They're always sneezing, coughing. They're always sick. And that can be your life if you don't prioritize mainly making sure that you're eating foods that are nourishing your body. That's the main thing. Staying hydrated, eating nourishing food. Meal prepping is essential. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I've made a habit over the last years and years of spending a couple hours before each trip preparing food that I cook at home, that I like to eat, that are gonna nourish my body. We need those vitamins, we need those minerals to just fight all these challenges we're facing, not the air coming on while I'm talking. I know it can be hard when you're just starting out. I know it can be hard when you're on reserve, trust me, and you're in a crash pad. I know about the refrigerator situation at crash pads where the fridge has like no space in it and you're sharing a space with all these different people. It can be extremely hard when you're a commuter, but it can be done. I've done it as a commuter. I've done it as a commuting reserve. I've done it as a regular reserve that lived at base. I've done it in every situation, scenario you can think of with this job. I still meal prepped because it is a priority. And the truth is, if you decide to make something a priority in your life, you always make time for it. And your body can only help you as much as you help it. If you're eating fast food from the airport, from the Taco Bell across the street from the hotel, every now and then, fine. Every single meal for every single trip, not fine. I'm gonna keep it real with you, because the environment of being on the plane at best delays healing and at worst makes things worse. If I happen to catch a cold or get sick on a trip, I will not get better at all until I get home. It usually will get worse and worse and worse each day until I get home and can lay down and go and sleep it off and hydrate and eat. That's when you start to see people who are just chronically ill. Like they pass their year mark where they are supposed to be getting sick all the time, just getting used to the environment of being on the plane. They're 2 years, 3 years, 5, 10 plus years in, and they are always sick. They always have a cold. They always have a cough. The common thing you see is that they eat out every single meal. They grab some fast food on their way to work. Then on their sit, like the one I had earlier, they go to whatever fast food restaurant is in the airport and they eat that. And then for dinner, they order some DoorDash. And it's just constant fast food and processed food. And what is your body supposed to do with that? You know, your body can't fight off sickness if you're feeding it garbage. That's the truth. I'm a foodie, trust me. I love trying new foods in different cities, and it is harder and sometimes impossible to really pack for example, a 4-day trip like this one. But as much as you can, try to minimize how much you're eating out. Really make sure you're packing your vegetables, bring your carrots with you, and just do right by yourself. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you can't eat out or try new foods in different cities. I'm probably gonna get some food on the next layover because it's a long layover and I just want to. But even if you start off by just bringing one meal with you on a trip and just slowly start bringing more and more food. So you have a 3-day trip, you bring enough food for 1 day, you eat out the other 2 days. Or like what I'll normally do is for a 4-day trip, I'll bring enough food for 3 days, and then I'll treat myself to 1 meal, 2 tops, where I indulge, I go out to eat, I try some new food in a different place. So you feel me? I know y'all feel me. Give your body something to work with. Give your body some nutrients, some vitamins, some minerals to work with so that it can help fight off sickness. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm about to go to bed. This day has been extremely busy, like I said. Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed. Just to recap, we did Denver to Albuquerque. We sat for 3 hours. Albuquerque to San Francisco, and then San Francisco to DF Dub. So I'm ready to go to bed. This is an 18-hour layover. I actually picked this trip because the layovers are very humane, which I like, and I'm looking very much forward to just going to sleep, not necessarily setting an alarm, and just resting my whole entire soul away. And that is one of the just amazing perks of being 10 years in, having a line, being able to pick what trips I want to do. Basically, we've come a long way, you guys, since being on reserve. And speaking of reserve, we're going to talk about that in the morning. But first, I got to go to bed. Good night. Good morning from the dirty window of my hotel room in DF Dub. Probably shouldn't say good morning. I should say good afternoon. I wish I could have just sprang out of the bed and gone and did some exploring in the city for this part of the vlog, but I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I've been in bed all night and pretty much all day. Yesterday took me out and I was tired, y'all. I woke up this morning, I just could not bring myself to get out of bed, but I did. I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because I brought a couple of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so that was breakfast this morning. PB&J and some carrots. It was definitely giving elementary school lunch, but that was my breakfast. And then I pretty much laid around, watched YouTube videos, and kept setting alarms to get out of bed. And then I kept starting the alarms over and over again until I was finally like, okay, I actually have to get out of bed. I did heat up some soup that I brought. I brought some clam chowder that I got from Trader Joe's. It's actually pretty good. And I heated that up in my Hot Logic. If you know, you know. It's like portable, like hot plate basically that you can actually fly with. And so I heated that up, I ate the soup.
Taste the soup.
Now here we are. It is about an hour and 5 minutes or so until I have to be at the van. But I promised y'all last night that I would talk about reserve. And so that is what we're gonna do. So reserve gets talked about a lot. It's one of the number one things that new flight attendants, that potential new flight attendants want to know about. What is reserve? What is reserve life like? It would take me 1,800 hours to explain reserve life. You can go back in my channel. I filmed plenty of videos when I was on reserve. I filmed videos talking about reserve. You can get a good taste of reserve life just from going back and looking at my channel. But when it comes to what I wish I knew before I became a flight attendant, I do have some things to say about reserve, and it might not be what you necessarily expect. So as most of y'all know, when you're a reserve flight attendant, it just means you're on call. A reserve can get a phone call in the middle of the night, usually in the middle of the night, but at any time of the day, or depending on your airline, a reserve can get a call at any time of the day. At my airline, reserves are on call for a specified block of days, and they are on call for 24 hours a day. So if you're on reserve from Monday through Thursday, that means you're available for 4 days. You can be called at any time within those 4 days to get up to a 4-day trip. So it can be a little chaotic and a little bit jarring. When I was on reserve, I was a little bit skittish. I was a little like, oh my God, like I still to this day, the ringtone that most people use for crew scheduling, like still makes my heart drop to this day. And I haven't been on reserve in like 5 years, but for the first 5 years, I was on reserve pretty much the whole time. Towards like the 5th year, I would get a line more months out of the year than not. And what I wish I knew is that I wish I had just really embraced it. Embrace reserve. I know that sounds weird, but you know, we hear all these horror stories about reserve. You're getting called in the middle of the night. You don't know where you're going. You get this horrible trip, but reserve is also a great opportunity to learn the job. It is the best opportunity you're going to have to learn every aircraft, to learn every position on every aircraft, to develop your leadership skills. You are getting it out the literal mud, and you should embrace that and really see it as an adventure. Your reserves typically get either the absolute worst trips or the absolute best trips that nobody can touch unless they are like the top senior people. And even then, they still can't touch some of the trips that reserves get, because reserves kind of usually get trips that are just made up on the fly to cover needs within the operation. The nature of an airline means that it can't function without reserves. Reserves are the backbone of this industry. When I was on reserve, I was scared to be the lead flight attendant. I was scared to work international flights. I was scared to work wide body aircrafts. Like all I wanted to do was work in the aisle and serve drinks. And that's what most flight attendants like to do. Most flight attendants don't want to work the lead position, and they don't want to work the galley positions, especially on, well, I won't say most people. Well, yeah, I will. Most people would rather be on the beverage cart, working the aisle, or like on the meal cart in the aisle. It's very easy. You don't have anything to set up. You just kind of pass out drinks. You have a lot of interaction with the customers, which can be entertaining. And the aisle position is just easy. I would just say it's a no-brainer. But when you're on reserve, you're going to cover positions that people call out sick for, that there's no coverage for whatever reason, if crews go illegal. And so you usually end up in either the galley position or the lead flight attendant position. And I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. If you can learn how to do galley on wide body aircrafts, and especially international, you will be a god in this industry. You will be able to take your pick of any amazing trip you want once you get a line holder, because the galley position is always open. While you're on reserve, while people still feel sorry for you because you're new, ask the senior flight attendants, get some guidance on how to do the galleys. That is, I wish I had really, instead of being afraid of the galley, learn how to do the galley, because it can be very overwhelming. And the galley is basically where all of these supplies are stored, the meals, the serving setup, like everything is in the galley. So the galley flight attendant basically set up everything for service and make sure that the service flows in the correct order and in the most orderly fashion possible. But if you're up to the type of person who's very organized, you'll probably like the galley. The galley, to me, when I look at it, it's just overwhelming. I can do it now, don't get me wrong, but if someone right now told me you have to go do that galley on a flight from Newark to Tokyo, I would be terrified. So learn your galleys, and this is a time to learn your leadership skills. I used to be scared to be the lead flight attendant. Now it's all I want to work. I don't want anybody else to lead. I want to lead. Just looking back to where I first started as a scared little 24-year-old reserve to now, like the growth has been slow, but it's been steady. And over these 10 years, I've gained confidence. I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm a pretty good leader. I think that I set a good tone, because we got to have the vibes right? We can't have all this chaotic energy. We need the energy to flow like water. We need need to be just like this, nice and slow and steady. You might find that even if you don't think you are a leader, like I didn't think I was a leader, but I am. And I've found that out throughout the year. So try not to be scared of being on reserve and of getting thrown onto random trips. You know, just embrace it. Take that opportunity to learn, to ask questions, and to figure out what you like to do and what your skill set is. And once you graduate from reserve and you eventually become a line holder, because you will, you are going to be so confident, so competent. It's going to be a breeze. So I just want to say that to you. Probably the worst thing about reserve is the pay. But really the worst thing about the job is the pay. And we are definitely going to get to that. All right, it's about time for me to get up out of here. Just a little rundown. Right now, we are about to go from Dallas back to San Francisco. So another long flight. And then we have an even longer flight after that. So 2 flights today, Dallas to San Francisco to Indianapolis. So your girl's working a red eye tonight. Not my favorite, but we will talk later. I gotta get up out of this room.
Six and a half hours later. All my men, what is it like to be able to walk down the street without getting harassed? I would just love to know how that feels. I'm in downtown Indianapolis, and y'all, it has been many hours later. Just to recap, we did Dallas to San Francisco. And then we got here. This is the room tour. I've already messed up the bed. I took the blanket off this bed and put it on this bed. But this is the room. Beautiful view outside. Water fountain, a little park. So that's the recap. I got back in here and just crashed out onto the bed. And I slept from like 9 to 2 p.m. I just could not help it. I was so tired. And that delay definitely didn't help. But we're going to talk about the delay as we get to pay. That's a perfect little example of the pay with this job. First, let's look at this sushi. You know, we already got it. Oh, they gave me a little piece of cheesecake. Oh, that's cool. Y'all know I don't eat anymore, but I'm gonna try this. I just destroyed it. Looks like a matcha cheesecake, probably. That's really cute. Yeah, definitely matcha cheesecake. Oh, it's kind of good. Not gonna lie, I might actually eat that. But we got 2 sushi rolls because I'm hungry. And I kind of want to save the rest of the food I have for tomorrow, because tomorrow we have another very long day, but we don't have a break. So I got 2 sushi rolls. And I like to try new food when I'm in new cities. Never been to Indianapolis. Or I've been here, but only on a short layover. So this layover was scheduled at, can you open? This layover was scheduled at 24 hours. It ended up being about 22 hours, which is still great. Okay, there we go. So I'm not sure which one this one is, but we got a little eel, some shrimp tempura, looking good, looking very good. I can't wait to dig in. And this must be the salmon roll. Ooh, look at this, y'all. This place is called Sushi Den. After I completely destroy this food, I will give you a full opinion and review, because I'm about to eat all of this. Ooh, look at that. Good Lord. This is like a salmon roll with salmon roe on it. It looks so good. Get into the sushi game, my friends. Get into it. Oh, this is so pretty. I gotta take pictures. You know the phone's gotta eat before we eat. Okay, so I'm gonna feed my phone, I'm gonna eat this food, and then we will talk about pay and why that is the number one thing you need to know about before you sign up for this. Real good. All right, and now that the night routine is done, let's talk about what a lot of people want to know about, and that is the money. Now, to be real with you, if I had known this before becoming a flight attendant, I probably would have found something else to do. I think this is becoming more well known, but flight attendants don't get paid for all the hours they work. We only get paid for flight hours. So that delay that I had yesterday on that flight where we had to wait for a plane switch that was about an hour and a half, I wasn't getting paid for that at all. So things like that happen all the time. It's not rare, it's not uncommon. There are delays all the time, you know, just dealing with transporting humans, weather, human beings in general. Anytime there's humans involved in anything, there's going to be delays. It's inevitable. So yeah, that's one of the things that we do not get paid for. We don't get paid for delays. We don't get paid, like for example, on day one when I had to sit for 3 hours for my next flight, I didn't get paid for that either. So just to give you an idea, so with this trip, I'm on duty. I'm working 40 hours and 36 minutes for this 4-day trip, but I'm only getting paid for 24 hours and 30 minutes. So that's just a little over half of the hours that I'm working, I'm getting paid for. So take that information and do with it what you will. I think that pretty ironic how the image of a flight attendant that people normally see is the young, beautiful people being flight attendants, when really I think that this job is more suited towards someone's second career, towards older people who are financially stable already, who have already had their career and done what they want to do. Basically people who don't need this job to actually survive or to be their only source of income, because it's extremely hard to have extra money to pay all your bills, to have a nice place to live as a flight attendant, especially at first. My first year I made like $23,000 my first full year. Granted, flight attendants are getting paid a little bit more than I was my first year, but it's not much, and with inflation it's really not much. Even 10 years in, I'm still having to work so many hours just to get by and to have some extra money. So after this 4 days of this trip, I'll have already worked a normal person's full work week, 40 hours, but I've only gotten paid as if I worked part-time. So now I have to work another trip right after this trip to make up for the hours that I didn't get paid for. Does that make any sense? So we're working basically overtime hours for part-time pay, and that's just the truth. It's wild. I don't think that flight attendants should be working, or pilots or anybody working on the aircraft should be working a normal 40-hour work week like normal people, because just the environment of being on the aircraft is so hard on the body. I've basically been in this room all day. I'm exhausted. I was so happy just to get outside and walk. I'll walk like a mile and a half to go get my food, and that was like my exercise for the day. But other than that, I had no energy for anything else. Being on the plane truly drains you, and it's hard on the body, it's hard on the spirit, the soul, and you have all these forces fighting against you. Like it's, you know, people being sick, people traveling sick, people sneezing and coughing on you, which is why I said in the beginning it's so important to take care of you and to take care of your health first, because if you can't even do that, it's not going to be a good situation for you. So that is the truth. Overtime hours for part-time pay. Things go left all the time. There are delays all the time, and it's really frustrating. And that's the way it really is. Nobody tells you that beforehand. That's something you find out after you've already quit your other job and decided to be a flight attendant. And people have very creative ways of trying to save their money and to make life as livable as they possibly can. And one of those ways specifically brings me to my next point, and I'm gonna tell y'all this is one of my big no-nos, one of my number one no-nos. Don't do this. Do not commute. Okay? Do not commute. Y'all know I have been preaching this for years if you've been following the channel. Don't do it. I see all these Facebook pages telling, you know, people who are applying to be flight attendants or who want to be flight attendants. They're like, oh, I'm from St. Louis and the airline I want to apply for doesn't have a base there. And everyone's like, oh, you can just commute. It'll be fine. No, it won't. No, it won't. If you think about what I just told you, you're getting paid part-time pay for overtime hours. Now add in commuting to that. I commuted for 2 years. Just a little bit of my background if you don't know. I started out based in Newark, New Jersey, and I was based in Newark for 7 years. 5 of those years I lived in Newark. I lived 10 minutes from the airport and it was great. I was able to go to work, come home, lay my head down, all the above. And then when the pandemic hit, that's when I moved to North Carolina, which is where I'm from. I moved there for 2 years and I started commuting from Charlotte to Newark. And those were two of the most stressful years of my life. It was honestly horrible. Some airlines, depending on where you work, some airlines will give commuters like positive space tickets in order for them to get to work and not have to worry. But for me, I was having to do what I always do when I travel and fly standby. So the flights more often than not were full. So that was very stressful. Trying to get on a flight to work, hardly ever could get on. So I couldn't work as much as I wanted to. And if you can't get to work, you can't make any money. And if you can't make any money, then you don't have any money. So it was just stressful to the point of I was just like, I felt like I was aging rapidly during that time. I'm gonna just say this. If you want to make money, you need to be close to the money. You don't need to be a plane ride away. I don't care if the plane ride is 45 minutes. If you can't get on that plane because the flight is full and you need to go to work, that's not good. When you first get hired, they always ask you if you're willing to relocate. A lot of people say yes to just get the job, but they don't really mean it. Either commit to the job and what it really is, or don't do it in the first place. I'm just being direct with you. It's not worth it. A lot of people try to save money so a lot of these airlines have bases in major cities like New York, like LA, San Francisco. What else is a really expensive city? Miami. Their bases are in these expensive cities, but your pay doesn't equal out to being able to actually afford to live in that city. So a lot of flight attendants, in order to try to avoid living in a crash pad, which is a whole nother topic, or having a million roommates, they'll try to buy a house in their city where they're from. Like, I don't know what a cheap city is anymore, but let's say somewhere in Texas, or where they can actually afford to get an apartment at a reasonable price, but then they're commuting. Here's my thing, and that I learned about commuting. When you're commuting, once again, you're far away from the money. When I was commuting, I just realized that, number one, I was never home because I was always having to leave either a day before my trip so I could just make sure I got there. When you're commuting, you're never home and you're broke. Just keeping it real. Unless you stack your trips together to the point where some people will work for like 2 weeks and then go home for a week and come back. So you're at home for a week and you're working all these hours just to pay for a place where you're never even at. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. It's better to just live at base. You wouldn't accept an offer for any other job, like a job at Google or something like that, and then be like, oh, I'm just gonna fly there to go to work. You would move to wherever the job is. And I think more people just really need to accept that and commit and just move to whatever base you get put at. When I first got hired, during my interview, the lady asked me, if I was willing to relocate, and I said, yes, I'm ready for a new adventure. That's verbatim what I said to her, and I meant it. I was ready to I'm one of those people, if I need to go somewhere, you tell me to go, I'm gonna go. And I have no regrets about moving to my base. I lived in a crash pad for the first year, and then I lived with a roommate for the next 7 years, and I just got to the point 2 years ago where I was able to finally get my own place. And it's tough. It's kind of a stretch right now, but it's low-key doable. It became low-key doable finally after about 8 years of being a flight attendant. So a lot of sacrifices come with this job, and again, nobody tells you how much you have to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice being independent and living on your own most of the time, unless you're lucky and fortunate enough to have family who lives in a city where you can actually be based, where your airline has a base. That is the best case scenario for young new flight attendants who really need this job, is to just live with your family as long as you can and save your money, because man, the money is the most challenging part of the job. It's not easy. It's really not easy, but trying to save money by commuting, it's just, that in my opinion is not the way to go. And I know people have different circumstances. People have kids and they don't want to move their kids, and different situations, scenarios that people have. I will say, if you again don't need this job, if this job isn't your main or only source of income, commute. Do it. I talked to a pilot yesterday. He only works 3 trips a month and he commutes. That's perfectly reasonable in my mind. But y'all let me know. I know people are gonna really let me know about that in the comment section down below. Don't commute. It's just gonna make things a million times harder. But I will leave y'all there. I'm gonna go to bed. It is past 10 o'clock and tomorrow is the last day of the trip. I'll see y'all then and give you the rundown for what we got going on tomorrow. It's go home day. Good night. Good morning from foggy San Francisco. Haven't got a chance to update you all day, but I am on flight 2 of 3. That was a very long flight from here to there. I'm just going to fill up my water bottle and then get back on the plane. We only have 20 minutes. No, less than 30 minutes until boarding.
All right, finally back home. The best part of any trip is coming home. That's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you got something from it. I really try to be as honest as I possibly could and just keep it real with y'all. You know, I think that at least having some sort of idea about what something is before you get into it is always pretty important. I mean, you don't really know until you know. There's a lot that I didn't get into because then this video would be like 45 hours long. But those are like the top 3 things I would say that I wish I had known before becoming a flight attendant. The toll it takes on your body, the money situation, and what was the other thing I said? Oh, and reserve. Being on reserve is really hard, but I wish that instead of being timid and trying to avoid the things and situations that I had been afraid of when I first started and when I was on reserve, I wish I had ran towards, okay, I'm scared to be the lead flight attendant. Let me just dive in and like put myself in that situation to be the leader so that I can face my fears. So I really, that's probably my number one thing I really wish I had done. But eventually I grew a backbone and I grew up and I learned everything that I needed to learn. So it'll happen eventually. But don't run away from things that you're afraid of. Run towards it. That is my biggest advice for you. Yeah, my goal for my videos is never to glamorize the job or even persuade you or encourage you to become a flight attendant, because there's just a lot that goes into it. Pros, cons. I mean, it could be, you know, it's kind of like this. So definitely do your research, especially with the airline that you are applying for. Do your research on the specific airline, see how they treat their employees, because how they treat their employees is a direct reflection of the morals and values of the company. So that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I hope that I helped at least one person. And if you want to be a flight attendant as a second career, like I said, you are in the right place at the right time, because I really believe that doing this as a second career and doing this after you're financially stable is, quite as it's kept, the best thing you can do. And putting yourself in the position to be a flight attendant straight out of high school or straight out of college is probably not a good idea for some of the reasons I said in the video. So something to think about. I know the airlines are hiring like crazy right now, so I hope this video helps somebody. If you enjoyed it, you already know exactly what to do. Okay, so just do it, and I will see you guys very soon with, make sure you have your post notifications turned on, because a lot of life updates are coming. I will see you guys very soon with another video. Make sure that you are taking very good care of you. Take care of you, and everything else will fall into place. I will see you guys soon. Bye.